recording has started, hopefully. Yes. This is the mandatory line at the start of each one of these.
Oh, okay.
Hello.
I didn't agree to this.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Hello. Good afternoon and welcome everyone to Origin Stories of Gilded Age, a Cypher System actual play about nascent heroes in a world entirely unprepared for them. Today with me we have John. John, who are you? What do you
Hello.
do?
I am John. I do John things.
John
I
is
am
John.
currently Jess, the fast speedster who speeds fastly.
The fastly speedster fast. And because I have forgotten to do this at every single one of these, so I'm not going to stop doing this. And because they are not going to be coming out in the order that we have recorded, you're probably going to get these references before the original one has happened. I am D, your Night Wanderer, and I'm playing everyone else. So, we begin on a sunny, warm day, the kind of perfect day that is neither too cold nor too warm. People of all sorts of states of dress and undress can be found in parks on the streets and the like. And as we kind of explore this city, which a few corners of which we have already seen, I now know that it is actually not going to be the first one because the first two have already aired. Haha. So we have already seen a couple of the corners of the city, and now we see one more corner. A street that is filled with all sorts of bureaus and offices and stores and banks and all sorts of stuff. Just a general long, wide street filled to the brim with various businesses. And leaving one such business, our camera pans down to focus on Jessy Turday. What does your character look like? Where is he coming from and what is he doing?
So, yesterday is a young-ish man, late 20s, early 30s. He has a tan skin, blonde hair. He has like these thick prescription glasses, but when the sun's not glaring off of them, he has like weirdly violet eyes. He's dressed pretty casually, like jeans, a shirt, and like a space themed hoodie. And I think he is just coming out of a coffee shop. He's got like this, like one of those little cardboard trays with a bunch of coffees of various complexity on them. As he was just sent for a coffee run from the guys at the lab.
You're going around with your coffees, which have blissfully been kept as very simple orders. It was just coffee with milk, coffee without milk, coffee with more coffee. Nothing that spans more than 3 words for order, which is a good thing, you know. Otherwise it gets confusing, especially with all of the drizzle things and the flavors and everything, but such is life. You're walking down the street with these coffees, and you're carrying, how many should we say? 6? 6 sounds like a good one.
Yeah, 6 sounds good.
Yeah, you're carrying 6 coffees. And it's not a long walk from, what was the, wait a second. I had one from previous episodes. Ah, yes. It's not a long walk from Joe's Cups of Joe to, remind me what we said the labs were called?
Nebula Dreams.
Nebula Dreams, right. I will remember that by Christmas.
We'll see.
So it's a short walk from Joe's Cups of Joe to Nebula Dreams. And you're kind of like walking and you're as you're carrying these, occasionally you glance at the logo, which just has this regular average Joe looking guy holding a cup from which he himself is waving at you. And as you walk down the street, you pass all of these kind of places of honestly places of previous employment. By this time you have worked in most of the places in the city in one capacity of being a temp or other. Now, is there Is there a skill issue or something else that causes Jess to keep changing jobs like socks?
Well, it depends on the specifics, but mostly it's panic attacks.
Gotcha.
Like he'll have a panic attack and either be like, "I can't go back here," or he'll have a one of those classic panic attacks in the freezer, and his boss will be like, "You can't come back here."
Fair. Okay.
And yeah, he thought being an intern for a bunch of nerds in an office would be less impactful to his mental state and less less customers to deal with.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely no customers to deal with, although obviously being an intern also has some downsides, such as having to deal with other people's customers when going to grab coffee. However, for the most part, this lab has been, the work has been blissfully boring. All of it seems to be purely theoretical, and apart from everyone just sitting around and discussing ad infinitum details and using language that Jesse probably doesn't really have much experience with parsing or understanding, because it just goes really granularly and deeply into detail
Yeah.
about theoretical stuff. Topped with the occasional crunch of them all just writing furiously some paper or something, which then ends up being just exchanged among them. It is almost a bit questionable where the funding for this place comes from, because they obviously have tremendous funding. They have amazing equipment, which just is never used because they have no idea how to go about using it for these purposes that they are currently discussing. All of the ideas are very highbrow sci-fi ideas. You almost get the impression that some of that one of these people who work here, or maybe one of the upper echelon people, is just an incredible sci-fi nerd who just has a very rich couple of parents who just gave him the money to pursue his dreams. So we're talking about,
Yeah, that checks out.
they're trying to figure out teleportation and uh, electrokinesis and telekinesis and all of these like very highbrow things that belong honestly in comic books and not in reality. But as far as jobs go, for someone who is prone to panic attacks, it is perfectly cushy.
Oh yeah,
You
he's
do.
had it for a full 2 months.
Yeah. And hey, that's 2 months without a panic attack. I imagine
Job
that,
related.
job related panic attack. Yes, of course. I imagine that Jesse probably has like a wall which has several different types of days since last panic attack counters, and
Oh yeah.
the counter for uh, days since last job related panic attack. At this point is probably reaching a time where you will need to reconstruct it so as to accommodate for more numbers,
Yeah.
because so far it only goes up to 70.
Yeah.
And you get back into Nebula Dreams, which has this kind of like very fancy front. Like the door is an automatic door, but it in itself is painted as part of this like mural of sort of like a nebula, like just like a very poorly designed meme of Space Brain. Like you even wouldn't put it past it that it's actually the literal like brain exploding enlightenment and cosmos emanating from it meme that just had like some text truncated or whatever. But this is what they decided to be the front of the store, of the lab. And as the door parts at a very inopportune moment where kind of like the silhouette's a nose just gets detached from the rest of the head, you enter. And you enter into this space, which the lab itself has 2 stories rented in this building, the ground floor and the first floor. The first floor is kind of the brain trust area where everyone just sits around and talks. And the ground floor is the area with all of the equipment and all of the stuff. And usually there's someone down there who like is basically just making sure that no one comes in to fiddle with it.
Mm-hmm.
because of the flippancy that they have with the finances that they are possessed of, they never really invested into much security as such. Because they're like, we should probably just keep an eye so that nobody hurts themselves. But like, if somebody steals something, we'll just buy a new one, right? I mean,
Yeah.
how expensive can a hadron mini collider be? And you kind of go up the stairs, which is kind of just like a spiral staircase that goes up to the first floor. And there's 5 more people, so you got this time around. You got to actually have a coffee of your own. And there's 5 more people sitting around a very large round table kind of thing, which you suspect, but though you have never seen them do so before, and you don't know that they stay up late or stay in the lab late, but you suspect that this table is being used as a gaming table as well. Um, it has kind of like a touch screen surface for the most part, and then like fine wooden paneling around it. And they're all sitting there and just kind of like tossing a hacky sack to each other by hand, and kind of just like discussing the newest topic, which for some reason has recently come to be multiversal travel. And as they're kind of pontificating on the benefits and or downsides of multiversal travel, you deliver them their coffees.
So he'll yeah, hand out their coffees and just kind of like too anxious to like take a seat at the table. He just kind of like stands off to the side towards the door, listening to them talk about multiversal travel, and just probably ask something like so like does this does this like go with the simulation theory you guys were talking about the other day, or is this like a new thing?
Oh no, no, this is entirely new. This is we're done with the simulation theory. This is just completely new stuff, just like multiverses.
He'll nod like he understands. Just drink his coffee.
Yep.
He'll yeah, look around. Uh, Still not quite get it, but doesn't want it to be too obvious that he doesn't get it, and be like, so how would someone like go to a different timeline or dimension or multiverse? Like, would it be like one of your teleporters, or would you just like rip a hole in the air and walk next door?
Well, that depends on the one of the main guys who usually like come up with the ideas and stuff, Simon Rust. He kind of like says, well, that depends entirely on how you do it. Like, if you travel through to the different universe, do you travel to who you are in that universe? Is it just that you supplant the consciousness, or do you also travel physically? And if you travel physically into the other universe, do you rip a hole in them that other people can go through it or not? And if you from this universe and you from another universe touch, does that have something to do with something? Does that create a black hole, or do you get erased? It's and if it's just maybe people slip, maybe that's what the Mandela effect is. Maybe it's just people who slipped from one multiverse to another, and it's just minor changes. Maybe it's just whether there's a pixie that finishes off the Disney symbol or not. you know it can be anything. And then you also have to consider the what did we call it and then someone said, oh, the quantum, the quantum fusionation, And then someone else, oh, we need to get a better name for that. But yeah, like if you do quantum fusionation and then and like there was never at any point in time a point where they explained what quantum fusionation should be, and whatever this term is, it's definitely something that may even have just appeared like 5 minutes ago in this conversation.
Yeah, like they needed a word to
Yeah.
classify an idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep, continue nodding.
And
Uh,
it's very difficult to say.
it sounds like a toughie.
They kind of like all look at you. Yeah, a toughie. Yeah, I mean, come on, you're an intern. You should have something. What do you think? What do you think about multiversal travel?
Uh, well, when I first heard the concept, I was afraid there would be like a nuclear chain reaction because you're introducing like atoms to a new universe, and isn't that how nukes happen? Like you shoot an atom at another atom, and then atoms explode, and that chain reaction causes more atoms to explode. Like, would going to a new timeline just like blow it up?
I mean, it could. I guess maybe that means that you'd have to make holes so that the
Like,
universes fill each other up.
okay. Or I don't know what wasn't Terry like talking about remote viewing? Like, could you remote view into a different universe?
I mean, and Terry kind of pipes up and says, that seems like it would be the most inobtrusive way to start doing something like that. Because if you're just looking at it, you're not fusing anything with one another. Although I suppose one might argue that you're also ripping some sort of hole in between two universes if you're able to see through. But maybe it's just rather than ripping, maybe you're just leaning a glass on a wall between universes and hearing through it with your eyes.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot less of a chance of nuclear destruction on a universal scale.
Yeah.
So, do you think you guys in the next universe over are also trying to figure out how to pop? You know, do you do you think there's any way to like coordinate efforts between multiverses?
I mean, and one of the others, Isabel Jeeves, she kind of like, now that she is done eating all of the foam off of her cappuccino and is now just sipping the rest of the coffee, she says, well, it stands to reason, right? Like if there's countless multiverses, then there's countless of decisions that have been made or remade or not made. And it is conceivable that at least in a few of these universes, there's us trying to do the same thing but slightly differently. But if every universe is dependent on if the creation of every universe is dependent on the decisions that were made in it in order for it to be distinct, then they can't possibly be doing the same thing, because if they were, it would be the same universe. And then Simon pipes up again and says, well, no, because you would have different parameters, right? Like maybe in this universe, we are trying to do it while there's an owl outside, and in another universe, we are the same and we're trying to do it, but there's a parakeet outside. There can be different parameters that make the universes distinct. And then Russell says, well, but would it be that granular? Would it go into such detail? That doesn't seem likely.
Jessy drinks his coffee and just like, well, if a multiverse is spawned from a decision, then couldn't one be the exact same, but someone got a different coffee or a tea?
Well, yeah, that's what Isabel was saying. But what I'm saying is, uh, does it seem likely that universes would spawn based of just such minute things? That there would be so many identical ones except for the one detail? That would require an unimaginable amount of, well, everything. Infinite almost.
So for a multiverse to occur, there has to be a drastic event. Like how big would the event have to be? Like World War One never happened, or Mars never existed?
I think those are good examples. Yeah, just really big stuff.
And would the multiverses like be like, is it just a bunch of Earths layered on top of another, or like full separate universes? Because I would think if it was like a full universe, and it wouldn't have to be a large scale thing on Earth. It could be a planet or a supernova exploded that didn't in ours, and everything on Earth B would be the exact same.
That is a good point. But does that then mean that multiverses spawn not based off of decisions but off of chance? Or this means that either the multiverses are dependent on decision, which means that it has to be conscious thought, right? So there would be multiverses spawning based off of major differences on places and planets where there is sapient life. Because if it's just random chance, I mean, and at this point, there is an alarm that sounds from your pocket, which is your phone reminding you that your time is up. Because as an intern, you're not allowed overtime. And it is almost like very, it is like they don't want you to be doing overtime for free. So they also have several times had to shoo you home after your shift was ended. And so you guys kind of like ended up deciding that it's a good thing for you to have an alarm that says, Jessy, it's time to go home.
Yeah, he will hear the alarm and just like mid sentence of whoever was talking, just turn and leave the room.
And as you're leaving the room,
okay, I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yeah, bye, Jess. And you just hear Simon say, "Well, there he goes," and everyone just kind of like has a little chuckle because they just find it amusing that you literally just turn and go, which is what you kind of like. It was. They said that when the alarm sounds, you just turn around and go, but they meant it more in a slightly figurative manner. But you just took it to be like the instruction, so that's what you do. And nobody ever like corrected you because they're like, I'm not getting into the nuance of this because that's gonna be difficult. So you gather your stuff and you head out.
He's got a little kind of normal like $20 backpack that he keeps his stuff in.
Fair. Yep. And do you live near or far from Nebula Labs? Nebula Dreams.
I'll say he lives like I am going to add a detail to the city. He lives one subway ride away.
Okay. You've added 2 details.
Oh, nice.
You've added the subway.
Yeah, I was half expecting you to be like, you can't do subway. Water table's too high. Already been established in episode 2.
Yeah. It's like, no, it's an underwater subway.
It's a channel.
It's. Why does that sound so nasty?
Because it's the worst. Thanks, Britain.
It just sounds so nasty. A channel.
But yeah, no, it's just a regular, normal subway.
Let me just make. It's gonna be. I think that which I do intend to have you guys like adding details to the city, but I think it's going to be a very amusing Einstein problem for me once I get to a point of trying to map the city out, and then it's just like, oh, this like parameter is just one subway stop away, but this parameter is like there's 7 banks around, and then
it's a city management. They really like the nose candy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things that has been established, which you would also know, having lived in this city, is that there is kind of like a old town part of the city, which is kind of like very convoluted and has lots of winding little streets, and everything is kind of like very jumbled. And then there's like a new part of the city, which is literally just like a X by X block of perfect rectangles and squares, and these two kind of like have like this in between area, which is just very strange.
Yeah, this chaotic meshing.
Yeah,
I have lived in towns like that before.
Yeah, exactly. And so you head down to the subway and take your one-stop ride to the area close to your flat. And as you're going up, you kind of like realize, oh, it seems to be snowing. And then you look up, and it's just clear skies, but you see like these things reflecting, like almost like snowflakes reflecting in the sky.
His first thought, which spikes his anxiety, is, oh no, someone's doing a TikTok prank at me. It was just a matter of time. So he just kind of stopped, just dead in his tracks, and he's just like kind of like slightly looking around, seeing if there's anyone with an obvious camera and or glitter bomb that he is about to catch to the noggin.
So I have to ask, did you like literally stop on the stairs as you're going up? Because like there would be like a covered part of the subway, and then the stairs would at some point become uncovered, but you're not still at street level. So would you be like in the middle of that just immediately as you noticed it?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So you kind of like stop and look around, and let's have you make us a perception-related intellect task. This is going to be just a level 2.
That's 20.
That's a D20. And you need to get a 6 or higher.
Let's see. Perception-based intellect. I don't think I have... Yeah, no, mine is just for science and crafting.
Okay.
Nat 20.
Nat 20, okay. So with a nat 20, you also get a major effect on top of succeeding. So you look around, and as you do, you're looking, you realize that, yes, there are a couple of people filming, but they're not filming you. They seem to be filming the sky and this happening, right? So there's one other person like around your level, just a couple of steps up, and then there's another person up on the street level just trying to film. And as you kind of like look at that person up on street level, as they point out, it's really weird. As they point their camera to the sky, every time they seem to catch this light, the screen just goes completely white. It's almost like there's like a direct, incredibly intense light going into the camera whenever it catches any one of these kind of like snowflake things on it. And the other thing that you realize, because a net 20 is a net 20, is that there are people who are reacting to this, who are seeing it and who are very bewildered by it. And the vast majority of others doesn't seem to even notice it. In fact, they're probably a little bit annoyed at those of you who have stopped dead in their tracks and are looking at this stuff.
Yeah, he is. He has gone from hyper alert to the confused emotion. and he's like, okay, probably not a prank. But people should be reacting to this. So yeah, he is going to pretend to not notice the sparkles and shave some years off his life and approach a complete stranger.
Mm-hmm.
And just be like, so why are all these people freaking out around here? What's any idea what's going on?
What kind of stranger would you approach?
In my head, I imagined like an old woman with a grocery bag.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that would be the least threatening person Jessy would approach.
Yep. Approach her, and the woman kind of like looks at you and says, "I don't know, just kids these days with their Insta talks. I don't know what's going on. Like, why is everyone just look, dearie? I've got." I've got a lot of groceries to take. I'm sorry, but I
Oh yeah. But sorry for keeping you.
yeah, sure. Just don't stand in people's way, okay? And she kind of like this was not meant as in you're standing in her way. This was meant more as in like don't do the same thing as these others are doing.
Yeah, he took it as the first one and took like 3 steps back.
Fair. You take kind of like 3 steps back, and by virtue of how this whole thing has gone, you've actually gone a couple of steps up. And as you kind of like go a couple of steps up, you bump into a person with your back, who kind of like at first doesn't react and then looks down and says, "Oh, sorry, was I in your way? It's just this weird snow thing, man."
Yeah, no, it's it's okay, and he'll like just kind of like skirt around the guy to exit the subway.
Okay. You exit the subway, and as you are now on street level, you realize that there's one curious thing about these things. First off, they seem to be like not even reflecting the sunlight as much as they seem to be shining some sort of inner light. There's just like these tiny little motes of light, and they are behaving much like the lightest of snows that can get carried by the lightest of air currents. And so most of it is just going like left and right and front and back, but not really managing to fall down to the ground.
So he is going to take out his phone. Seeing how it is just completely like whited out the screens on other people's phones, he's not going to try to take a picture or a video, but he is going to send a text to Simon, and it will say, not on the clock, but something weird at the whatever exit station he's at. Weird event. Some people see it, some people don't. It's like snow? Again, not on the clock. Going home. Send.
You can write this and not on the clock, send. And at that point, you see like one of these motes of light gently land on top of your phone and just stay there on your screen.
He's just kind of looking at it, and he's having that moment of, this is gonna give me cancer if I touch it, isn't it?
Ah, yes,
he'll
that moment.
Yeah, he'll like take the hem of his shirt and try to use it as a barrier and wipe the mote off of his phone screen.
Yeah. So you take the hem of your shirt and try to wipe it off the screen, and you do manage to wipe it off the screen, but now it's sticking to the hem of your shirt.
He'll so yeah, there's just gonna be a series of moments where like he tries to wipe the mote off with the sleeve of his hoodie, then it's on the hoodie, Then he tries to wipe it off on his pants, and then it's on his pants. So he tries the other sleeve of the hoodie. Then he tries his shoe, and then he tries to, like, scrape it off of his shoe onto the ground.
Yep, which does not work. It stays on the shoe.
I do not want to walk on barefoot. I'm just going to have to deal with this. And he is going to cautiously try and remove himself from the subway zone.
Mm-hmm.
He is planning on throwing his shoes into the dumpster next to his flat.
Okay. So it's a bit of an awkward walk because I am assuming he's also trying not to step on it as he's moving.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a bit of an awkward waddle to the few minutes to your apartment, which become like closer to 10 with this waddle. But eventually you get to a point where you get to the dumpster that's like right beneath, like right in front of the building where your flat is.
Yeah, he's going to take off both shoes because it would just be weird if he only took off one.
Yeah.
And making sure the area was clear of, like, the path back to the apartment itself was clear of debris and things what could stab him and give him bloodborne diseases. He will chuck his shoes into the dumpster.
Yep.
And quickly try to like scamper into the building.
Yep. Well, it's lucky that it's such a nice day, so you don't really get like either wet feet or cold or anything like that. And takes some time, but eventually you get into the apartment. Tell us what Jesse's apartment looks like.
Boring. So this guy's apartment looks like he bought it pre-furnished and never did anything with it. So there's like a couple of fake potted plants in the corner. There's like a nondescript, like, framed poster pretending to be a painting of fruit on the wall. Some like wicker, like a wicker TV stand, and some just more nightstands than anyone has any right to have.
Okay.
And it's very clean. He does not possess many things outside of a small bookshelf full of crossword books.
So let me ask you this. Is it very clean because he is a very clean person who cleans a lot? Or is it very clean because he is a person who doesn't do anything?
Column A, column B. He is a bit of a stress cleaner.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, so you get to your flat, and do you do anything special, or do you just let
He will unload the stuff from his backpack, so like his lunch Tupperware and stuff, and he'll watch that. And yeah, he will probably get a crossword book out and turn on whatever local news is available for the area.
Yep. Yeah. Turn on a news station, and there's nothing really of import happening in the news. Nothing seems to be going on. Everything's just the same as it was. No mention of weird snow light thing. No mention of motes of light. No mention of people being like. It's almost like it never even happened.
I hope I'm not going crazy. I knew it would happen this way. So yeah, he will continue with his regular.
So tell me how difficult. Well, yeah, how difficult of a crossword does he choose to do?
He kind of goes for the intermediate ones.
Okay.
Because the hard ones are too hard for him, and the easy ones are. He prefers the easy ones, but even when he's doing them in private, he feels embarrassed, so he does the medium ones.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, it's a medium one. I'm very, very tempted to have you roll for solving a crossword puzzle, but that's not how systems work. And
Okay.
because it's not that is whether you fin well, I don't know. If Jesse has a very strong emotional reaction to not finishing a crossword puzzle, then we might roll, but um yeah, so
He uses them to wind down. They're part of
yeah,
his hobby, so
absolutely. Absolutely. So you finish up the crossword at some point, have a spot of dinner, and eventually it is time to turn in for the night. And the night passes without much happening. You don't really dream anything this night, or rather, you don't remember any dreams or anything.
oh,
And
thank God.
when you get up in the morning, and it's next, you have the next day off, so you don't have anything to do. But there is a whole bunch of um, trash that you need to take out.
Yep. And probably looking, he should probably go to the store to pick up another pair of backup shoes
Mm,
so that he can replace the pair of primary shoes he did have.
yeah.
So yeah, he slips on his backup shoes, which I'm gonna say they're Crocs. Why not?
Sure.
And yeah, gather the trash and head back to the previous day's dumpster.
Yep. You head to the dumpster. How does Jess dispose of trash? Does he like just fling it into the dumpster, or does he put it down gently, or?
Uh, so you see, he's paranoid that if he tries to fling it, the bottom's gonna fall out, and he's just going to spray trash everywhere in an arc. So yeah, he hoists it up to the edge of the dumpster and just kind of pushes it in.
Yep. Yeah, so he hoists it to the edge of the dumpster, pushes it in, and it kind of like rolls over and falls. And as it does, there's like this little bit of it's not like dust, but like some motes of like coffee powder and stuff like that, just like loose flour and stuff like that, just like rises up into the air. And as it does, you see just like this mote of light rise along with it.
Nope. He is going to turn around and start walking towards the store.
Yep. He turns around, starts walking towards the store, and eventually you reach the store. So what do you buy at the store?
So yeah, he's probably buying, just normal, boring, groceries, white bread, bologna, unsalted chips, and then just like a pair of $20 shoes.
Yep. You buy all of that, and as you're at the cash register, and these cash registers are usually like at the front of the store so that you can see inside or outside through the windows of the store. You're kind of like waiting for the cashier to bring all of that up, and you kind of like glance up, and you realize that the mote of light is hanging outside of the window, and you could almost swear it's looking at you.
He wants to ask the cashier, but he also goes to the store like once every couple months, so he doesn't want the cashier to think he's a weirdo.
Mm.
So he's just staring at it, and he's like, okay. He will like keep like glancing out while he's being rung up, and he will pay, and then he will try to, as normally as someone can, like exit the door, but like like more off to the side than someone normally would. Because I'm imagining the moat is like in the dead center.
Yeah.
So he's just gonna try to like squeeze around it.
Yep. He squeezes around it, and I assume heads back home.
Yeah, I can't think of any other
Okay.
chores this incredibly boring man would do.
Okay. You head back home, and as you're walking, make me this is like
Hell yeah.
if you have any sort of perception or intuition or something like that, you can add that training if you have it, but it's an intellect task, and it's a level 3, so target number is 9.
Well, I got an 11.
Nice. So you're kind of like walking, and you get this feeling that someone's following you.
He will try to subtly, but absolutely not subtly, like turn and try to see who's just like staring daggers at him.
Yep. He turns around and like you do that typical thing that none of us have ever done, where you kind of like suddenly pull out your phone and pretend that something on your phone has told you that you critically need to turn around right this instant. So you pull your phone, you stop dead in your tracks and turn around, and you see this mote of light right in between, like right there, like maybe 5-6 inches away from your forehead.
He's gonna run.
Okay. He runs.
He is now convinced he's being chased by a ghost.
Okay. Where does he run back home, or does he run to somewhere else?
Well, if the ghost is chasing him, he won't want it to know what apartment he is in inside the building. It already knows what building he lives in, so I think he is going to run the length of blocks it takes to get to Nebula Dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And with the idea that, I don't know, maybe they can do something about Ghost.
So you run, grocery bag in hand, your extra shoes in those grocery bags, in your Crocs, all the way to Nebula Dreams.
I forgot he was in Crocs.
And you're a little bit out of it. I mean, I don't get the impression. Jesse's like, he's relatively sporty. He's not like he's maybe not like top tier athlete, but I get the impression that he would find it almost like a mandatory requirement to regularly exercise, just because it's what should be done.
Yeah, jogging is one of his boring man hobbies.
Yep. Okay. So it's just like the length of one of the subway station of one subway stop. So it's not too much, but with the panic and with the fear of this ghost and the speed at which you're running, you get to Nebula Dreams slightly out of breath, and get to the door, and the door, like at this point it almost seems like it painfully slowly opens. It takes just at this moment it seems to take an eternity to open up.
Yeah, he's standing there tapping his foot, like looking over his shoulder. Like the second it is wide enough for him to squeeze through, he is just going to scramble through there like some kind of stray cat trying to get a sausage.
Yep. And you squeeze through, and I assume you run back up to where the brain trust is, so to speak, to call them like that.
Oh yeah.
And this early in the day, it's only Isabel and Terry who are here. And they kind of like look at you and say, "Oh, Jessy, hi.
I'm being chased by a ghost."
You're what?
But I think it's a ghost. I don't know. It's a ball of light, but it's looking at me. I can tell it's looking at me, but it's been following me since yesterday when it got stuck on my shirt. But before that, it was on my phone. But after it was on my shirt, it was on my sleeve. Then it was on my other sleeve. Then it was on my pants, and now it's on my shoes. But then I couldn't scrape it off of my shoes, so I threw my shoes away, and then it came out of the dumpster to chase me today after I threw out the trash.
And they kind of like look at you both in silence for a moment. And Terry gets up and comes close to you. He's like, "What are you talking about, man? What kind of ghost? What kind of ball of light?"
Well, I don't know. It's probably. I think it was related to whatever was happening yesterday that I emailed Simon about. Or no, I didn't email him. I texted him, and then I went home because I didn't want to deal with it. But then it's chasing me. It's downstairs. I don't know if I can go past doors. It might be a vampire. Oh god, what? Oh god, if it's a ghost vampire. I.
And Terry at this point,
He just kind of locks up.
Yeah. Terry at this point kind of like grabs your shoulders. There's some amount of force behind it, but it's like meant to be more soothing than threatening. And he just goes, "Jess, look, maybe you're just a little bit overworked. Maybe we can reduce the hours for you or something. Because, I mean, we can. we you're not supposed, like you said you had panic attacks at previous jobs, didn't you? So maybe it's just one of these. Like, how do you regulate that normally? And he's kind of like, he turns you around by your shoulders, kind of like he's going to start ushering you outside of the building, right? And he like turns you around, and as you get turned around face to face with this mote of light just in front of you, and he kind of like starts pushing you forward towards the stairs.
So I imagine that, like, as he has turned just completely around, and he's asking, like, okay, how do you usually deal with your panic attacks? And he's like pushing him. Jess is just going to have like a 1 second scream as he makes contact with this moat.
Yep. So there's like this 1 second scream that happens as this mode, like he literally through the action of Terry pushing you into it, literally, um, it touches your forehead, and for a moment it just feels like a little bit of warmth spreading across your forehead, just a little bit warm, and then nothing happens, and you still feel Terry's hands on you, but they're not no longer pushing you.
Just kind of slowly like starts turning back and is like, okay, yeah. Sorry about the scream. Maybe it was like a weird water atmospheric thing. I don't know. It didn't. Okay, it might not have been a ghost. Like he's saying this as he's trying to like take a step forward and turn around and
Yeah, and you kind of
profusely apologize.
it almost takes like it's weird. It almost takes like a little bit of work for you to kind of like shrug yourself out of his grip. Not because he's trying to hold you tightly, but just because he doesn't remove his hands from where he is standing. And as you turn around, you see him kind of like frozen with his hands like where your shoulders were, and his mouth is open as if he were in half sentence.
Oh god, Isabel, Terry's frozen. I think it was the motive light after all.
And
I
you
like
turn around,
looking over.
yeah, you look at
Yeah.
Isabel, and she is like in the middle of drinking a cup of tea, and you like just literally kind of like see her in the middle of it, like.
Hmm. So here's the fun thing about having severe anxiety and panic attacks, my dear folks. Your brain does not jump to logical conclusions when horrible events are happening to you during these times of high stress. So he is going to legitimately have the irrational thought of, oh no, time's frozen. It's just like, okay. He looks around. He'll like grab a pen off the desk and throw it. Does it stop as soon as it leaves his hand?
It stops as soon as it leaves his hand, yes.
Okay. Everything is frozen and I am not frozen. That is. He stops and he thinks, okay, that is like top six worst fates. I don't like this one. That's right up there with just becoming a rock, but still remaining conscious. That's all. Okay. He'll like try to find any kind of reflective surface and see if like the moat is on him or if it is just gone.
You walk around and you get to a reflective surface, and as you do, it's kind of like you get in front of a mirror. There is like one of those like large mirrors in the bathroom, and you don't see anything in it, as in you see no reflections in it. It's just kind of like matte, or rather, yeah, it's just matte. It's not reflecting anything.
He stops and he's thinking, and he's like, light waves aren't moving because time's frozen, so of course a reflective surface isn't gonna do anything. Thank you, high school physics. He'll like rub at his forehead, see if he can like transfer the moat off if it's still there.
Mm-hmm. You rub at your forehead and you kind of like move your fingers off, but there's nothing there, and like you're rubbing your forehead just felt completely normal. Um, and you kind of like look at that and look at your fingers and glance up, and now all of a sudden, in front of the mirror, like you see that it has now started reflecting, but it's not reflecting you. It's not reflecting the room you are in. Instead, it's almost like a window that is showing you just a forest.
He's gonna look at that and he's gonna be like, okay, that is incredibly concerning. He will exit the bathroom. Is he in a forest?
He is in a forest once he exits the bathroom. Yes.
So if he turns around to look at the exit of the bathroom, is it just like there is a doorway there and nothing else, or is there just forest?
There is a doorway there, but it's a wooden rickety door belonging to a huntsman's lodge or hut or something like that.
He'll look around. After the time stop realization, he has entered a sort of like panic nirvana, and he is going to walk up and knock on the door,
Mm-hmm.
just like anyone in there that's not frozen in time.
You knock on the door and say that, and as you kind of like knock on the door, there's almost like this rushing of a noise that covers you because you now realize how incredibly quiet it is when everything is stood still, when no time passes, no sound is there to be heard, and all of a sudden it just like all comes rushing back to you, and as it does, it almost like for a moment blinds you. This sudden contrast of sound being completely absent and sound rushing completely, and it's like almost a blinding headache that it induces for a couple of seconds, and you close your eyes, and when you open them, you are stood in nebula dreams, and time seems to have resumed flowing, but you don't see Terry like stood where he was with his hands where he was holding you. Instead, you see you see four of them: Isabel, Simon, Russell, and Terry, and they're kind of like moving around and doing stuff, and you realize that up here now, all of a sudden, instead of like there being just this touch screen table where they were all kind of like shooting the shit and talking stuff, this has now been converted into a very high-tech lab with all sorts of equipment, and you realize that some of the equipment you don't even recognize passing by ever, as they're kind of like just moving around officiously, just moving to and fro and everything. And then all of a sudden, Isabel kind of like looks up and looks at you and says, "Oh, Jessy!" And then everyone kind of like stops and turns and looks at you. And Terry immediately rushes up to you and says, Jessy, wait." And he turns to Simon and says, "Which one is he?" And Simon kind of like just shrugs, like, I don't know. And Isabel says, "Jessy, what do you remember? What's happening?"
Okay, so yesterday afternoon there was a lot of sprinkles that were falling from the sky. I thought it was a prank, but other people weren't noticing it while other people were, so I sent Simon a text about it. And then I went home, but there was a sparkle on me, so I couldn't deal with that, so I threw my shoes in the garbage. And then I went home, and then I went to sleep. And then I had trash, so I threw the trash out, but the sparkle came back out of the trash, and then it chased me all the way to the convenience store. And he'll like hold up the bags that he's still carrying, and it's like, so I got my stuff, and then it was sitting outside the convenience store, so I scooted past it, but then it started chasing me, and it felt like it was watching me, so I assumed it was a ghost at that point. So I ran over all the way here, hoping that one of you would have something that could deal with the ghost, but it didn't come into the convenience store, so I thought it might have been a ghost vampire or something. I don't know. So I was more panicked then, but then it slammed into me. Okay, Terry pushed me into it, but that's fine. It's okay. I don't think it. I don't think I'm harmed. I don't know. But then everything stopped and time stopped around me, and I threw a pen, but it didn't go anywhere. And then I went to the bathroom, but because time was stopped, light waves weren't moving, so I couldn't see my reflection to see if the moat was on me or if my skin absorbed it or whatever. But then I was outside in a forest in a hunting shack, and by the time I knocked on the hunting shack door, I was here. Also, all this looks new. Did you guys get more stuff while I was on my day off?
Um, you say that, and then I'm going to need you to make me a perception-related intellect task.
Oh yeah.
This is a level 4, so you need a 12 or higher.
Oh yeah. Opa. 8.
8. Okay. Um, you kind of like look at them and everything, and Isabel is kind of like holding her hands up and like, okay, 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 okay. And then you hear you hear her, Simon say, "Oh, he's just at the start of it," and Terry says, "Right, right, right. Just calm down, Jesse. Just calm down. You know it's fine. We've figured everything out. It's perfectly fine. It's all gonna be okay. Okay."
Okay, you see, my parents said that just before the divorce, so I'm inclined to not believe that. Okay, so one of you said that which Jesse is this, and another one of you said he's just at the start. Am I stuck in a time loop?
And and you hear just like all of a sudden you feel like these um you feel arms hands kind of like grabbing you by the arms from behind and just kind of like pinning your arms down, and Terry kind of like is approaching you with this weird sort of, it's almost like a it almost looks like a flashlight, but it has like some weird warbling like energy pulse at the end of it. And as he's coming close to you, Isabel just kind of like looks at you and says, "Jess, I'm sorry, but this is the
Hmm?
only way to save the world." And
Oh god, I'm gonna die.
Terry kind of like presses it against you, and as he does, there's just like this jolt of pain that goes throughout your entire body. And all of a sudden, you are kind of jettisoned out of not just Nebula Dreams, not just the city, but the entire universe, and then outside of the entire multiverse. And you see this kind of like, you see these tethers, these multicolored tethers going from kind of like your chest into all sorts of universes that almost look like panes of glass stacked atop of each other with like very loose threads interconnecting them. And every single pane seems to have the same scene of Nebula Dreams, but like in different iterations. In some, you seem to be there, looking at just Simon, who just like looks like he's been through hell and back, like literally like a war grizzled veteran rather than just a
Then a trust
incredibly
fund
wealthy
baby.
nepo baby. Yeah, exactly. And then there's one where you actively seem to be fighting against the four of them. Then there is one where it's just like you stood alone atop of just like this pillar of stone with nothingness around you, and like there's just like myriad of these. And the more you look, the more you realize that the ones where it looks kind of like it's gone good or well for you or anyone else are very few and far in between. And you feel like this painful jolt still going through you, and then you kind of like see these tethers start like kind of ripping off one by one and just kind of like snapping. And as they are, you see two things. One thing is you realize that like each of the tethers just seems to lose one color. Like they're multicolored tethers, and when they snap for a moment you think they snap and they're gone, but they're not, they remain, but just like with one color less. And the other thing you notice is that in this spaceless, timeless area of multiversal existence from outside of which you are observing it, on the other side of this area, kind of like on the other side of these panes of glass that are all of the different universes, you see a hand kind of like grasping a whole bunch of other threads and pulling. And as it pulls, you see all of these panes of glass coming crashing into one another. And you blink, and you are in Nebula Dreams. And you're in Nebula Dreams with Isabel and Simon and Russell and Terry. And what are we going to name the fifth person?
Uh, Jack.
Jack. And You see all 5 of them kind of stood there, and they look at you, and Jack just says, Jess, it's not your time to be here. You've got off until tomorrow.
Yes, I do. I will see everyone here tomorrow. Like, is it is it the old office or is the super science still here?
Um, it
Like,
seems
he's gonna take a look around as he
you look around and it
backs
almost
out.
seems like it's a sort of a combination of both. Like the table is still there, but some of the equipment has been moved up, and you don't see any new equipment as such. But this equipment has seen use, and there are things like being currently tested and done. So this is definitely way more activity and a different setup than you know, but it's definitely nowhere near what you saw in that first um, iteration for the time stop.
Yeah, he will awkwardly like just walk backwards out through the office door, turn around, and start speed walking home.
Yep. You speed walk home, and as you do, you kind of like realize because it's kind of like the same direction as Joe's Cups of Joe, and you kind of like pass it, and you just kind of glance at it, and as you do, you realize, huh, space bucks. And you look around, and this is the street that you know. Like I said, we've established that you've worked in a lot of these places as part of your temping, and some of them seem to be different. It's like there was a small bookstore that you worked at for a while before you got a panic attack from a very large order of books going awry, and now it seems to be a candy store. And then you look over and you see that what used to be a lawyer's office is now a bank.
Okay. So I imagined he did not let go of the bags through this
I
whole
imagine
event. So if he looks in his grocery bags, is it the same like uh boring bologna and white bread and unflavored chips and $20 shoes?
Yes, but the shoes are gray and not brown.
Okay. He is going to reach into his pocket to pull out his phone to check out uh yeah, just anything. And as he does, he notices his phone feels a bit bigger than when he last put it in his pocket, and pulls it out. He looks at it and he's like, "That's a projector." Okay. Why would I? Okay. I need a phone. Oh God, how much money do I have in this? Okay. I'm going home. I'm going home. Then I'm going to figure stuff out. And he's just like talking to himself in the middle of the street.
Yep. And as you kind of like talk to yourself and head home, eventually you get to your apartment building and you start going up the stairs and realize that you're going up the stairs because there's no elevator, but there used to be an elevator there, you're sure of it. But apparently the building is now without an elevator. And as you kind of like walk up the stairs, you see Mrs. Let's call her Walcroft, who is this nice old lady who, for all of her life, had just a whole ton of cats in her apartment, and a couple of times you did like favors for her and everything. So you know that she has like 6 cats living in that apartment. And she passes you by on the stairs, and she seems to be going down with a dachshund on a line.
Okay,
And she
filing that
says,
away for later.
"Oh, hello, Jessy."
Hello, Mrs. Wallcroft. Dog's doing fine.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Mr. Sims is doing just fine. And you remember that Mr. Sims was this incredibly moody orange cat. orange-haired.
Yeah, like an orange tabby.
Yeah, tabby. There's the word I was looking for. And Mr. Sims now seems to be a very friendly dachshund who is very interested in your bologna bag.
He will. Yeah, he'll do the uh thing of people talking to dogs. Where like he is just holding the bag out in one direction and putting himself in between the dog and the bag, terrified the entire time.
Yep.
Because he doesn't want to buy new bologna, but also there's this vicious animal.
Yeah, vicious animal. Yeah, and eventually she kind of like goes, "Come on, Mr. Sims, come on!" And she kind of like pulls him down a couple of steps, and then eventually he goes after her and ignores the fact that there was bologna in that bag.
Yeah, it's like, okay, have a nice day, Mrs. Walker.
You too, Jessy.
And panic walk back up the stairs to his apartment.
Yep.
And so yeah, the second he gets into his apartment, he is going to go full blown conspiracy mode, taking whatever blank pieces of paper he can find and just like writing down
Well, funny you should say that, because
Oh,
as
no.
you enter your apartment, two things immediately strike you as different. Most of the apartment is the same. It's still the same, like boring setup and everything. But anything that was imitation art, so for instance, the poster of the fruit that's been framed and pretending to be a painting, and anything else that you had in the same vein, there is no mistaking it. This is real art. Like, these are real paintings by real painters who are very famous. And you just have that hanging on your walls. And the other thing you've noticed is that one of your walls is completely covered in a corkboard.
just like looks at it for a moment. It's like, okay, thank you, this universe's Jessy, for your work. Is there anything on the corkboard, or is it just a empty corkboard?
At the moment, it's empty. The only thing that's on it is like
Oh,
just a
boy.
whole bunch of pins pinned into it.
Oh boy. So yeah, he is going to get out whatever scrap pieces of paper he can find and start writing down anomalies that he has noticed. And so yeah, the middle point where all the threads are coming out is labeled as multiversal time stop.
Yep.
And from there, there's one for Nebula Dreams that splits off a couple to like my original Super Science parentheses killed me, and then like current version, and then there's like all the businesses he's noticed and like their new counterparts, his shoe being a different color, his phone now being a projector, and like a little corner or a little note in the corner just for him that's like, buy new phone.
Yep.
And so yeah, probably a good chunk of his afternoon is going to be
and this is actually going to be a point where the camera is slowly going to zoom out, leaving Jessy with his work on the notice board, on the cork board, and like pinning stuff, writing down stuff. I'm just like trying to organize his thoughts and everything, finding a convenient kind of like ball of red thread that can be used to kind of like combine all of the pins and everything. And we kind of like zoom out and pan up and see a couple of suns and night skies pass as time passes, at a relatively quick rate for the viewers, but at various different rates for Jessy. As we zoom in again on a moment where Jessy is confronted with some ne'er-do-wells, let's call them, and trying to run away from them, and he just like comes up against a gate that is closed off, and he sees them coming up after him, probably wanting to steal from him or something. There's just like a bunch of hoodlums, kids, teenagers who are up to no good, and who are absolutely fucking terrifying for Jesse. And then we see
Oh
this
yeah.
moment of Jesse kind of like, again, detaching himself from this reality, and almost like the space around him squeezes a little bit and expands. And within this moment of time, not really existing for him in a way that it should, we see Jesse pass through the gate at a time when it is open to then reemerge in his original timeline on the other side of this closed gate and then keep on running as these kids kind of like come across the gate and um, trying to figure out how the hell he got through that. We see a number of moments where Jesse tries to run away from things and or people and just ends up moving incredibly lightning fast from one place to another. And then we always see this kind of split screen show of, on the one hand, we see the perspective of everyone else where he just like zips from one point to the next. And then the other perspective where we sometimes almost see Jesse just taking a leisurely stroll in a black and white or sepia colored world that is stopped in time around him, as he keeps having a very tenuous touch with the linearity of time until we get to a point where Jesse is at a cafe just writing stuff down in what I assume is one of many, many journals that he has by now filled up. And
Oh yeah.
he's writing things down and kind of like realizes that he should slowly get going. He packs up, puts his stuff in a bag, and leaves the cafe with his bag. And then within a few short moments, he hears growls and barks behind him as two large and incredibly intimidating dogs seem to be going after him.
So he is immediately going to scream like a small child, and like he's again going to hit like a panic integer overflow,
Mm-hmm.
where he is too panicked to even subconsciously activate his super speed, and he is just going to start booking it down the street,
Yep.
screaming, and probably find like a telephone pole or a street light,
Mm-hmm.
and just like koala his way up it.
Yep. You can like get to a street light or a telephone pole and start like going up it, and then this is like the point where this sort of hyperspeed moment of detaching himself from the normal flow of time ends, as he starts slowly feeling like maybe he's got some security going on. And as he's relatively high up at this post, he looks around and he doesn't see these dogs anywhere, and it's probably a pretty sure bet that he's lost them with how fast he moved. But he's up a telephone pole.
Yeah. He's up a telephone pole, and he also is thinking like, oh no, what if they have my scent? They'll hunt me to the ends of the earth. Mm-hmm. Okay, no, it's fine. I will just outrun them. I will run away, and every time I see them in the future for the rest of my life, I will just run away. Yeah, that's a plan. And again, he is saying this out loud while halfway up a telephone pole.
Mm.
And kind of look around, look down the telephone pole. Okay, I got up way higher than I thought I would. Okay. And he'll just like slowly start and stopping, sliding down the pole.
You slowly, very painfully get down the pole without too much issue. It doesn't seem like there's any people who notice you. The few people who pass by don't look up high enough to realize that there's a person sliding down the pole. A couple of people see it, but just decide to very quickly move on and not engage with the person who has climbed up and now is sliding down a telephone pole. And by the time you're down, you kind of like you straighten your clothes and everything, like you've calmed down a little bit, um, and you look towards your bag and you realize that that is not your bag. It has a different color. It's the same kind of like make. It's the same type of bag, but it has a different color than yours. And it is at this point that you feel some heavy weight slam into you, and you are tackled to the floor by this large dog the same dog that you saw that just took a while to find your scent, but has found your scent.
He is crying.
And you are crying as this dog is just like paws on top of your shoulders, like just keeping you in place, while the other dog has approached and it's just like growling at you right next to your head.
He is convinced he's about to die.
And you hear this female voice say, "I think I have your bag, dear."
I think I have you seen?
And
Is over by the Paul?
and this is going to be the moment where we are going to end our session tonight, as the camera pans up to a fiery red-haired woman holding Jessy's bag, calling the dog that's growling at Jessy's head back to her, while the other one is still atop of him. And we
he is still face down crying.
Yeah. And with that, we are going to end this session of Origin Stories as we have met our very own Jessy Turday.
Hell yeah.
Yesterday. I have been D, or Night Wanderer, that's Wanderer with an O, and I have been the DM for this game. The ambitious DM who intrudes. You can find me on Twitch, on Twitter, on Blue Sky, on all of the places under Night Wanderer. Again, that's Wanderer with an O. I have an itch. I sell things on that itch. I do not scratch it. And I stream 3 times a week. I stream Neverwinter Nights, Enhanced Edition, Disco Elysium, and Dragon Age Inquisition at the moment. I can also be found on John here's pod, Bacon Flavored Pods, playing Mecha vs. Kaiju, where I play Augustus Crimp, who has a biblically accurate mech.
Yeah.
John, tell us who you are. Where can we find you, and what do you do?
Hello, I am John, also with an O. I can be found on the social medias at Crim's Bacon. As Dee said, I can also be found on a podcast I run of Bacon Flavored Pods, where we play pretty much anything and everything that's not the big two. Due to life issues that will probably not be resolved anytime soon, the current game and only game we are running at the moment is Mecha vs. Kaiju, which is pretty fun. Even if sometimes a dog will get the best of a mech for 8 rolls in a row.
Yep.
Let's see. I can also be found on Twitch, where I am currently streaming Monster Hunter Wilds with my roommate, or my friend. He no longer lives in the same house as me. Over on his channel, Boar Immortal. Bacon Flavored Podcast is streamed over on my channel, which is also Crim's Bacon. Also, if people need art, I need money, and I will draw.
As you have seen,
I will draw art in exchange for your money.
As you have seen the entirety of this game, we have John's own art of Jessy, both in and out of costume.
Yeah.
John is an excellent artist, and I highly recommend him. I have had him also design Gideon Price from the previous season of Would Be Heroes, and a awesome little breakfast scene that the entire team had.
Yeah. Oh, also speaking of Would Be Heroes, I am also running a break campaign. It is a once-a-month campaign called the Twilight Labyrinth. With the exception of Glitch, they are all new faces to Would Be Heroes, but everyone is having fun.
Yeah.
Except for Glitch's character, who is suffering.
As one does.
As one does.
Well, that will have been us. Thank you all very much for tuning in. Thank you for watching, and catch us next time, either on our pre-recorded Origin Stories, there's still a couple left to do, or live. Our next live session is going to be, I believe, the 5th of April, which is going to see us playing episode 2 of Gilded Age. Bye-bye.
Yeah. And if we get 100 viewers for that episode, I will chug a bottle of mustard.
No. No. I'm not being held responsible for that. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
And the software is not. Okay, yeah, we are recording. Beautiful. Hello. Good evening and welcome everyone to Origin Story of Gilded Age, a cipher system actual play about nascent heroes in a world entirely unprepared for them. Today we will be exploring the creation or nascence or the supernaturalization, if we may say so, of Coraline Templeton, or as she might get to be known later down the line, Wayfinder. Joining me is Dora. Please, would you introduce yourself?
Yes, hi, I'm Pandora Beatrix. I play Coraline Templeton, who will be a weird, sympathetic nexus who solves mysteries.
Perfect. And because I'm so intelligent that I forgot to say stuff myself, I'm the Your Night Wanderer, and I am the world. So, we open up on a bright, sunny day, like any other day this week. It's been a good week for weather, at least for those who don't appreciate rain. And the sky is clear, the sun is shining, the temperature is that perfect, not too hot, not too cold, of a maybe early summer or late spring, or even maybe an early fall. We're not going to get bogged down in our meteorological details, just to make sure that we don't have any inconsistencies that are not all too inconsistent before the inconsistencies are canonically inserted. And
Yes, very fair.
yes. We are following the steps of one Coraline Templeton. What does she look like? What does she do? What is she doing at this moment?
So, Coraline is a young woman in her she's 20, wearing your standard college student kind of thrown together stuff, slightly slanting in the uh, nerd direction. She has brown hair. She has a fairly large uh, messenger bag as well as a backpack, uh, both of which look non-trivially stuffed with stuff. And currently, she's walking down a sidewalk, uh, behind somebody who is on their phone, who's just sort of like a random person in a business suit, kind of thing going on.
The person in front of Coraline is battering us with your standard Wall Street businessman jargon. We're only hearing like sell, buy, stuff like that. There's mention of escrow, whatever that is. There's just these words are being floated around and everything. What was the reason that Coraline decided to follow this person if she is following them specifically?
She is, in fact, and the reason is that she has once again lost her phone, um, uh, and does not have a great head for directions, um, at least not yet. So she is hoping to get somewhere in the vicinity of her dorm. She had left the campus to get breakfast at a pancakes place. But now she's trying to get back in time for her classes. She's not 100% sure how to do that. And so her standard method is to pick out someone who seems to know where they're going and follow them and then hope for the best. Um, this works not super often these days, but sometimes it has surprisingly pleasant results.
Yeah, it definitely works better in smaller, more rural areas for some odd reason, but it's been a bit less effective recently. But nonetheless, you keep up hope. Maybe it'll come to pass. Um, After all, the day started off good. You had a wonderful breakfast at Pam's Fabulous Pancakes, and you the phone, you kind of got wind of it not being with you as you were starting to get up and leave the pancake place but couldn't find the phone anywhere at the pancake place. So obviously it must have fallen out somewhere along the way. As you're kind of like
Or
walking,
or
go
or I
ahead.
forgot to take it with me, or
Oh
who
yeah,
knows what.
absolutely. As you're walking down the street following this gentleman who is very aggressively still shouting at his phone about selling and buying and downtimes and signing things, you kind of are starting to sort of recognize it's always the recognition of locations is always a bit hazy. It's more like you could have seen that sign before. That place could have been, you might have seen it. You might have seen it a week ago while you were on a completely different tour. You might have seen it yesterday. You might have seen it just now while you were going towards Pam's Fabulous Pancakes, and you kind of start recognizing these little places. There's a coffee shop up ahead where you kind of remember maybe this is truly the right direction, because that coffee shop was a place that you had considered maybe going to instead of the pancake place before deciding that pancakes were on the menu today. And so we passed this coffee shop, and the businessman is finally off of his phone. He has stopped talking. He has texted someone or done something on his apps, and taken a sharp turn into a small alleyway. Do you continue following him, or do you continue going straight ahead, or any other direction?
Um, no, like someone who turns into an alley definitely knows where they're going, because people don't normally walk into alleys.
Exactly.
So obviously I'm gonna keep following then.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You kind of like turn after them, and off in the distance, like on the other end of the alleyway, because it's not a very long one. It's just maybe it's barely a block, but off in the distance you see crossing your way, just like this mane of red hair, as a woman, or at least femme presenting person, just very determinedly goes across the street. You only see her for a second, but it catches your eye because it's just like this very full head of really red hair that's just like it's obvious. But
Okay.
it catches your eye for a moment as you keep following the businessman, and then at some point a car, a kind of like a lime green Mazda 3, pulls up to the street, and the businessman kind of like leans into the window and looks at his phone. And so your mic, and from the car you hear, yeah, that's you're going to the airport. And he says, yep, that's right. And he gets into his Uber and drives off.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely not going to the airport. So, um, uh, well, um, is the is the person with the red hair still visible, having reached the street
They
past the
are
alley? Me.
just passing so like you're looking down the alley, and they're going like across on the other end of the alley, and they've just reached the other end of the street, and you're like seeing the hair kind of like disappear behind the building around the corner.
Okay. No, I mean if I keep going down the alley so that
Oh yeah,
now
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
on that street,
Oh yeah, if you get to
then
the street, yeah, absolutely. You get to the street, you look to the left, you see the person with red hair, and they're like they have a very specific way of going around. Like they are avoiding foot traffic, for lack of a better term. They're very good at avoiding the people that are coming in the other direction, and they're just like weaving and meandering through this crowd as they seem to be on a mission. They're going somewhere with quite a determined, sure-footed step.
okay. Well, then yes, I will definitely switch to following them,
Hmm.
because uh, everything is going according to plan so far.
Yep. Much like the original primeval GPS devices of olden days of first early onset smartphones, you found a new satellite and they're now following a new route. And you kind of like follow her, and you find it definitely significantly more difficult to navigate the crowd. The good thing is that she is very obvious. It is to you, because you've noticed her, because you've seen kind of like this thing had has drawn your focus on her. You can very easily detect her, but you do realize that you are not gaining on her, and you are finding it difficult to kind of like keep up.
Hmm.
And then let's have the continuity-wise, chronologically, first roll for Coraline. I will
Okay.
need a. This is a perception-related intellect roll, and the task level is going to be 3, so you need a 9 or higher.
Okay. I think we are saying that she is trained in perception even
Yeah,
pre-event because
absolutely.
that is a
Then you need a 6
just
or higher.
how
Yeah,
she was.
absolutely. In order to follow
Well,
people, you
I
need
did
to
not get
see
that.
them.
I got a 4.
Oh, okay. Okay, so there is a moment where something happens. You're not quite sure what, but this woman stops dead in her tracks and is just standing there for a moment. And then there is some sort of agitation that seems to enter her demeanor. Like there's like a tightening of the shoulders and a little bit of a more aggressive stance, and she just seems to kind of stand there and watch something, watch some cars drive off and watch some cars like watch traffic for a little bit, and then she uh kind of goes proceeds to go down the street, but at some point will turn left, and there is much less urgency and much less determination now to her step. Now she just seems to be walking, if a bit annoyedly.
Okay. Well, uh uh the her pausing, I don't know what that was about, but it did let me catch up a bit, so that was good.
Absolutely.
But now if it doesn't seem like she knows where she's going, I might switch to someone else, but also like she seems, I don't know. Maybe she's also lost now. Um I and it Cora does not really occur to Cora that she can't really help someone else being lost when she is also lost, but her instinct is to help. So she will actually like get close enough to be in earshot and be like, excuse me, hello.
You say, excuse me, hello, and you kind of like flag her down. And there's a moment where she kind of stops, turns around, and you just see this incredible, like, there is a split second of surprise when at realizing that you are addressing her. And then there's kind of like this it is very quickly replaced by just the coldest stare you have ever seen in your life. Just a complete lack of regard for human emotion that you immediately interpret in her stance and her look. And as this kind of like takes you a little bit by surprise, she just you realize that she has been taking steps back while staring at you and just goes into a building. Like she just goes through a door next that you can't really see what it is from this vantage point, but she just like goes into the building front of the street without a word.
Well, usually social interactions don't go badly quite so quickly. uh, Cora will like sort of look down at herself just to make sure that she doesn't have like something incredibly wrong or weird, or like she has had active piece of dog poop on her shoe or something.
Everything
But
seems
failing
fine.
that, like she's torn because she's deeply curious. And yet this person clearly does not want to have anything to do with her. So, at this point, Cora would be like, "Well, okay, that's fine,"
Yeah.
and stop following her.
Mhm.
But at this point, we're just gonna have to look around and see if we are close enough to the campus to actually make our way back, or if we need to pick a new following target.
So let's make like a general orientation related intellect task, and this is just only going to be a difficulty 2, so you need a target number of 6.
8.
Nice. So you look around and you realize, oh, you know this street. This time around, you're certain. So in a way, your tactic has absolutely paid off because following the businessman and then following the woman has actually gotten you to a point where you recognize that this street is just it's just kind of a slight diagonal way away from campus. So you're actually very close. It's just a short walk from here, and you just need to go straight ahead and then take a right and left and a right, and you're there.
Excellent.
And
I will begin
sorry.
heading in that direction.
Yep. Perfect. And you kind of like head into that direction, and as you are, you're kind of like you're taking your right, you're taking your left, you're taking your second right, and you get to the point where there is, it's almost like a little space that has been left to be like an open space by the campus. It doesn't necessarily belong to the campus, but they've kind of like made sure that no buildings were built on it so that students had like a little bit of a gathering area. But predatory food trucks have come along and just completely taken place. So now it is just essentially a student street food market.
Yeah, I was going to say Food
yeah.
Truck Square. I'm very, very familiar with the phenomenon.
Yes. Absolutely. And there's all of these kind of like various scents, reaching your nostrils, your nose, as you kind of like pass through or around this, however you please, food truck square. And for me, something kind of like catches your eye, almost like a glint of something, like maybe someone's watch caught the sun or something. It's just like a little short moment of a blip of a flare, and you kind of like look to the side and you realize that there's fireflies maybe in the air, and then you kind of like, no, maybe it's glitter. It's just like these kind of like the lightest snowfall, the one that gets carried by the weakest air currents to and fro, and actually very rarely actually falls straight down. But it is very, you can't tell if it's just a very reflective thing, or if it's light itself, or if it's just so white that the sun hitting it makes it shine. But it's just like a very shiny kind of snow almost, or something similar. And it's falling all over the place.
I mean, Cora is immediately enchanted. Although, gonna sort of breathe through her nose just in case it is actual glitter, because that probably would be unpleasant.
Fair.
Stranger things have happened around college campuses. But yeah, she's just gonna sort of like look up and around and spin in a circle and appreciate everything for the moment, because it's very pretty.
Absolutely.
Although, I mean, if any is landing on her, she would also be like looking at it more closely.
So there's a small period of time where you can just you're looking up and it's very pretty, and it almost seems like it's swirling around on a horizontal plane rather than actually falling down. Like it's being carried in almost like a, not necessarily a vortex, but it's just like going left and right far more than it is going up and down. And
Gotcha.
it slowly starts kind of like falling down, and as you're looking at it, you kind of like follow the motes as they lower their altitude, and at this point something interesting catches your eye. Namely, there's a lot of people who have just proceeded to walk along having their normal day. They're not even, you're not even sure if they are ignoring it. It's just almost like they're not even noticing it happening. And then there's a small number of people who have noticed it, who have stopped, who have kind of like pushed, extended their hands, trying to catch it. Some people are like looking up, in much like a turkey with their tongues out, trying to get it to land on their tongues. And though we do ascribe more drowning resilience to them than to a turkey,
Sure.
yeah. And one of these kind of like gently, almost perfectly, almost like it is planned, falls into the middle of your forehead. And it doesn't feel like anything. Like there's a moment where it almost feels like a little bit of a warmth that spreads across your forehead. Almost like as if it were maybe an ember or a spark, but something that has already faded enough not to hurt. It's just like a small spread of warmth across your forehead. And it doesn't melt, it doesn't stay there, it's just gone once it kind of like.
Now she really wishes she had her phone.
Yeah.
So she can check, like, social media to see if anybody is posting about
Mm-hmm.
what is going on.
Yep.
But failing that, well, the people who are just like not paying attention to it at all, that's weird, but she really doesn't know how to bring
Yeah.
that up in conversation. So she's
Fair.
gonna go to whichever of the people who does seem to be paying attention, who also has a phone
Mm-hmm.
out.
Yep. You find one such person, a young man, probably maybe 20-ish, early 20s. He has a phone out and has kind of like been filming all of this. And now he is looking at it, and he seems to be frowning at his phone while he's looking at it.
Hey, do you have you looked up on the phone what's going on? Because it's very pretty, but also weird.
Oh, you see it as well?
Mm-hmm. I mean,
Because
I
and he kind of like points at all of the people who are definitely not reacting to it.
yeah, I don't know why that is.
Mm.
Maybe it's like one of those things where it's like only young people can see it because like they have those things where they put them outside of convenience stores where it's really high pitched and only young people can
Oh,
hear
like
it,
the
so it'll make them
frequencies.
not loiter but except visible. Except I don't know how that would work. I don't think that I don't think that I don't think that vision works that way. But I mean I could be wrong. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah. Um. I mean, I don't know. It's like vision doesn't really work this. I mean, you kind of. It doesn't. You don't have sharper eyes. I don't think when you're. I mean, I, I don't know. I'm just an IT guy, but no. You see, the weird thing is, like, I tried filming it, and he kind of like turns his phone around, and there's like a video at the moment. And when I play it, and he plays it, and it's just like the entire screen just goes like bright white. And he says, "See, like something's really out of whack with the lighting because it's just this. It's just this. There's no. This shouldn't happen. This is a good
Huh.
phone. It cost me like $1,000."
Okay. Uh I mean uh like does it happen even when you're not pointing it at the whatever sky glitter?
Well, let me check. And he kind of like looks down, and starts filming the ground basically. And at that point, you hear your ringtone emanating from your bag, from your messenger bag.
She'll start to dig.
Mhm. You start digging, and at some point, you feel kind of like the object that is vibrating and that is ringing, and you grab it, but something feels kind of off. And as you kind of like lift it up, you are holding the receiver of an old black rotary phone, like including the cord that is still disappearing in your bag. Yeah, absolutely.
Is it still ringing or does it stop when I
Once you
pick
have
it up?
picked up, it stops ringing. Yes.
Okay. So she'll be like, "Hello?" Like she's seen people use these phones in movies.
Yep. And you kind of like go hello, and from the other side you hear like this crackling, interrupting kind of radio-y voice, just very poor sound quality, going, they are alive. Can you hear me? They are alive. And the line goes dead.
I can oh. Well, that was weird.
And
she has to She has to keep digging in the bag and see if the cord is connected. What the cord is connected to, right?
Yep.
Like, she does briefly like look around here to see if there is like a phone cord trailing out of her bag to go somewhere else.
No phone cord trailing after her. Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah, you keep on digging through the bag, and at some point you kind of find the rest of the phone, and it's literally like a rotary phone. I don't know if Coraline is young enough to not know how to use a rotary phone, but it's just like it's just a dial with the numbers.
She's definitely never done it, but she's
Yeah.
she's probably seen it in movies.
Fair,
but, yeah,
absolutely
that's
fair.
like
And the guy, the IT
just
guy,
sort of holding it like
yeah, just what? It doesn't. It's not connected. Like it's not. There's not even
Yeah.
a phone line like leading to your bag.
No,
It's just
yeah.
not connected. Yeah. And the guy kind of looks up at you and says, What's weird? I mean, no. Look, the ground is just the ground. It looks normal. It's just when I do the glitter, and then he even like shows you a video where he kind of like zooms up from the ground, and as soon as like some of the glitter gets into the angle, it just kind of like goes white. And he says, "That's what are you? Some kind of are you like an artist person? Is this like whole thing your installation? Is it like are you exploring the human condition? Like you see that." You're not sure why, but this guy has definitely had some bad experience with art and or artists, because there is immediately like this almost, it's not aggressive, but it is a little bit hostile stance of, oh, are you exploring the human condition of how people do confetti?
Gotcha.
And like he's basically using a lot of words to sound philosophical while making no sense whatsoever.
Sure. Not on purpose, and no, and sometimes. But I don't. Um, it's definitely something odd is going on. Like more than weird, it's odd. Is odd more than weird? I don't. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's the other way around. I think, but something. What would I call it? Unnatural. Even that's kind of a judgment call, isn't it? Because it could be natural and we just don't know about it. But I don't know. This is there was a phone in my bag, and it's this, and I mean, this is a phone. I've seen them like this, but it was ringing and it's not connected to anything. And I'm pretty sure they need to be connected to things. And I guess maybe it's it's just like a really weird cell phone that somebody has made look like this, and it's got the like batteries and stuff inside it. But I didn't buy one. And it's kind of big for somebody to like put in my bag while I wasn't looking. I guess maybe it was in there all day and I just didn't look, but I was looking in my bag for my phone before and it wasn't there, so I don't I mean, she would be
absolutely
continuing on in this vein, but
and at some point he kind of like pulls out, like reaches out. He doesn't like grab her or anything. He just like reaches out a hand with like making a stop motion. He's like, no, wait, look, no, stop.
Cora is familiar with this gesture.
Very well practiced. He goes, no, wait, stop. Look, no, is this? And he looks up at you and this is a memory related intellect roll. And let's make it a difficulty 3. So target number is 9.
Okay. It's probably higher for Cora then. She has canonical difficulties with that at the moment, but she's got a 10 though.
She's got a 10. That's 10. 10 is enough. And you kind of like looks up at you and you blink for a moment and his eye color seems to have changed. You were pretty sure he had normal brown eyes, and now he has like these green eyes, like very mossy green. And you kind of like blink looking at him, and he says, look, does this or does this not have to do with the weave?
I don't know how to answer that question. Which weave?
The weave.
Are we talking?
The weave, the weave, the everything, the weave. And you kind of like his words almost echo a little bit, And you kind of like snap back to him with his normal brown eyes, now looking at you like, so? And you realize that he is looking at you expecting an answer to something like that he has finished asking much earlier than he has now been saying the weave, the weave. And you see this kind of like little mote of light appear, and this is just a single one, and you realize at this point that all of the ones that were falling from the sky have gone. They're disappeared, and there's just this one bright light that is just like hanging right next to like his ear, probably, and it's kind of like vibrating a little bit in the air, and then it's slowly like starting to move off to the side.
Cora's processing for a
Absolutely.
minute. But wow, okay, it's definitely whatever the weirdest word for weirdness is, that's what it is going on now, I suppose. Just don't don't move quick, but there's like one of them one of the glitters is it's there's one sort of by your head. Like I don't she's sort of
Mhm.
pointing it out the way that someone would point out if there was a bee
Yeah.
near someone, but also like she's aware that that's a weird thing to do
Yeah.
because it's definitely
And
not a bee.
much in the manner of anyone who had ever been told not to make any sudden moves, he immediately jerks off to the side and like looks off and stares at it. And you get the impression that he's actually staring directly at this light, which is definitely not as subtle as the ones before were. Like this is really glowing bright. And he just looks
Okay.
and then looks back at you and then looks at like again and kind of like looks around and then looks back at you and says, There's no light. What are you talking about?
I was talking about sorry. The light. she like
Yeah.
points at it.
So you kind of like point at the light, and at that point you see it kind of like wobble a little bit in the air, and just like it's an it is a non-precisely described sphere, yet still you get the impression that it turns towards you.
Okay.
And you just have this innate awareness that it has turned to almost like look at you with no face
I mean, it's the
whatsoever.
way that you can tell that a bee has noticed you.
Yeah, exactly. And it just kind of like moves a little bit. It's just in a split second. It's like very quick. It just like moves up right in front of your face and then moves back again. And then as you kind of like, because this definitely distracts you and like takes over your attention, when you look back, you realize that instead of the guy and instead of the food court and everything, you are currently on the set of an Old Spice commercial as Terry Crews is saying, I'm on a horse. And then all of a sudden there's like this almost a dizzying feeling of okay, something very strange is going on. Something like this is reality bending, whatever the hell is going on. It's concerning. And you kind of like get this almost attack of this spell of vertigo, just like everything starts spinning and dizzying, and the whole world starts spinning around you at breakneck speed, almost like a centrifuge. And all of the colors blend out and kind of like stretch out. And now you just see all of these different colors and everything. And in the middle of everything, you see this. The best way to describe it is like the absolute most inhumanly impossible piece of crochet artwork made out of light. And you just see all of these kind of like strands interconnecting, intersecting, and they seem to be creating this grand tapestry of what you, for just a split second, there's just this one moment of perfect, blissful awareness and knowledge, just this intimate knowing of what you're looking at. And you see the tapestry of the entire universe. And you realize that pulling on any single strand, no matter how minute, creates a chain reaction, and you can get to anywhere from anywhere just by picking any strand. And then everything just collapses. The world collapses. Everything just condenses into this impossible singularity, this black hole that is in front of you, that is not consuming you. You are apart from it, even though the entire universe is contained within it. And you blink, and you are you're in an armchair in your living quarters. Just sat there.
Holy crap! Okay. Well, she's gonna dig out of her bag a notebook and anything to write with, and just start like writing down everything that she
Fair,
remembers
absolutely
about
fair.
what has just happened, just to keep it all straight. Because so far it hasn't stopped happening, and she's gonna run out of active memory space, right? So, but she's like, I mean, she's like, as she's recording, she's like she's sort of reprocessing the things that she saw,
Mhm.
and like reassessing them for, does this make sense in some way that I had not noticed before? And the answer is consistently no. And so she's just she's equally weirded out, and sort of at a loss, but also like like positive about it. Like she doesn't she doesn't really get overwhelmed in the traditional way, because she's
Yeah.
overwhelmed all the time. So
Fair.
she just sort of adjusts, right? So this is the thing she's overwhelmed about right now.
Yeah.
She's just like, well, okay. Is so So if there's an armchair, then I'm picturing this sort of like my my college dorm situation was, where there were like three doubles connected to like a common area that had like a
gotcha.
bathroom and a kitchen and a living room
Yeah.
for those 6 people.
I've lived in a dorm like that.
Yeah. So is anyone else here at the moment?
You kind of like look up and kind of look to see if there's anyone else here, and you realize that something has changed. This is definitely the armchair that you are used to. It's your notebook. Your notebook was exactly where you left it. Like, all of this has absolutely has so far been on track. But there's an entire half of a room that seems to belong to you now in addition. This is not a double. This is a single room of the same size as the double room used to be. And it is decorated as much in your style as you would decorate it.
Okay. So that's not helpful. In Cora's head,
Yeah.
like it's just like, you know how like when you're playing Civilization, the computer game, and eventually you get so far in the tech tree that it's just like, it just keeps saying like future tech and then adding a number.
Yeah.
Like it's like, yes, if you want to keep doing this, fine.
Yeah.
All it does is add smiley faces, right?
Yeah.
So in Cora's head, like, she had problems labeling what was going on, right? And so but it's just, so she's just sort of doing the same thing. So she's just got the word weird in her head with an increasing number of asterisks after it.
Fair.
And like, it's that part is is becoming concerning.
Yeah, fair.
Like she's legitimately considering the possibility that she is going like actively floridly insane right now, and having massive hallucinations.
Fair.
But doesn't really know how to self-diagnose that for obvious reasons. So she's like,
Let's
okay, I guess.
have you make me. So this is the past. So this is gonna be, yeah. Let's try for this. Make me a intellect roll. This is kind of, it's not going to cost you anything, but this is the very first use of your wayfinding ability.
Okay,
It's not costing anything because I'm kind of imposing it on you, so I'm not going to
very
be
fair.
taking points away from you for forcing you to do something.
Gotcha.
It is a level 8, so because your power shift eases it by 3, it's a level 5 for you.
Okay.
Feel free to use effort if you want, or any
Well,
other.
I was gonna ask, is this like out of a subconscious desire to know what the hell's
Yes.
going on?
Yes.
Then yes, she would equally subconsciously be
Yep.
putting a lot of effort into that.
Yep.
So because I have Edge 1, that means that the first effort it only costs 2,
Exactly.
and then
Yes.
the ones after that still costs 3, or do they cost less?
So the edge is applied only to the total cost of all of effort, but effort when you get to having effort 2 and being able to apply multiple levels of effort, only the first one costs 3 and all of the other ones cost 2.
Gotcha. But I can only do 1 because
You can currently only do 1 because your effort
of our
level for your
rank
characters. Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, so I will do that then.
Yep.
Well, it did not matter because I got a 5.
Okay. So you kind of like you're scribbling all of your experiences and everything, and at some point you kind of almost, when you looked up and you saw this and were like, okay, this is not helpful because I needed people to talk to whom I've shared a room with, and now there is no sharing of a room anymore. So what the hell is going on? You realize that you have been writing. You have still been like almost like automatically writing and sketching stuff, and you look down to your notebook, and you don't get it. It almost looks like, were you drawing a sandwich and started with the cheese or whatever? It's just like looks like several slices of Emmental cheese.
Okay. Well, no, that's a so she like is she still was she still holding the phone when she suddenly was in the armchair?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, you mean in the armchair? Sorry. Once you were in the armchair, you were no longer holding the phone. No.
Okay. So she's thinking maybe she should call someone. So she's gonna like I guess look back in her bag
Mm-hmm.
for that phone.
Mm-hmm. You find your normal cell phone.
Okay, well that does not help me understand anything, but it's more useful, so good. Cause so first she's gonna check her contacts to see if her roommate is in there. Her name is Maris.
So you kind of like check and look, and you do find the name Maris in there.
Okay.
Now, how does Coraline do contacts? Does she like do Maris roommate or Maris dorm or whatever, or would she just put like Maris Thorn person?
No, she would. She definitely puts all kinds of like label tags on there because otherwise she will forget.
Yeah.
Unless she's known somebody for long enough, but yeah.
So
there would be context.
Yeah. So where you look at Maris, like it's the name, it has a lot of the same details as you would know about her, but there is no mention of her being your roommate. And instead, the context is that she is the one barista in Joe's Cups of Joe that knows your order.
Huh.
Which potentially, in and of itself, might be a weird connection to have someone in your phone with. But
Yeah, I mean, she can think of reasons she might have done that, but she doesn't remember any of
yeah.
them. Um, um, well, then she's gonna try calling her first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you try calling her, and it rings a couple of times, and then once it's at some point she picks up, and she just immediately goes, "Hey, Cora, what's going on?"
I don't know. That's kind of why I'm calling.
Oh, honey, did you get
So
lost again?
I definitely did, and worse than usual. But also, I'm back in the dorm now. I
Oh, so
think.
that's great.
Well, I mean, so I just wanted to ask because I may be more confused than usual, but I had thought that we were roommates and your stuff is not here. In fact, it doesn't seem like your stuff could have been here because the room is smaller. So, um, it had also occurred to me that I'm having like some kind of a mental breakdown. So, if one of those, if you have any, light to shed on any of that, I'd appreciate it.
And there's a short pause on the other side of the line, understandably, and then she just kind of like laughs a little bit and says, "Oh, come now! You would never you would never have roommates. Not someone who has such a like, you got the fullest of full rides. You get the premium rooms. You know the singles."
Oh, well, I um hey, uh well, there's an interesting question. Um can I don't know if I knew what time it was before,
Hmm.
but I think I had a vague idea because I left the pancake place because
Yeah.
I had to get back to campus, right? But based on having my phone now, does it seem like about the amount of time has passed that I think has passed, or is it longer, or
Assuming that your universe-spanning moment of realization took only the second that it did, about the right time amount of time has passed.
okay, so Cora's gonna say, so like about, and however many minutes ago the sky glitter was, did you notice anything odd happening? Um, like, I don't know, people like looking up at the sky or acting weird or anything?
During the morning shift? No way I'm gonna notice anything.
Oh, that's
Look,
good.
honey, you sound a bit out of sorts. Why don't you come down to the coffee cafe and I'll make you your favorite caramel drizzle matcha latte, which is something you have never in your life ordered.
Okay, that sounds great.
Yep, fair.
So sure, Cora will then uh, uh I'll see you in a little bit. Um uh is this a place that she actually does remember, like,
So,
having gone to at all,
as far
or
as you know, Joe's Cups of Joe is definitely a franchise. It's a chain of coffee shops. It is very popular, but as far as you know, there wasn't really one where someone would tell you, "Oh, just come on down and I'll start making your coffee." Like, there's nothing that close as far as you know.
okay.
Um, So yeah, it's like the way she said it sounded like this was just a point of literally running down a set of stairs and maybe taking like one turn somewhere and you're there, right? Almost
Gotcha.
like it's a campus on campus thing, but not to your
Okay.
to the best of your knowledge, there was nothing on campus. This is why the food court quad.
Sure. So, um, yeah. So then I'm going to, I guess, look on Google Maps, and
Fair.
see where this place actually is.
Yeah.
Because
And
this is a solvable problem.
yep. And you look,
Assuming that
you
Google
look-
exists.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yes. You Google it and you realize that the location of the on-campus Joe's Cups of Joe is where you knew the copy shop to be. Not the coffee shop, but the copy shop.
Yeah, I caught that.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, okay. Just adds another asterisk.
Yeah.
Heads out.
Mhm.
Makes sure that she puts her phone
Absolutely.
in her bag.
Yep.
Where it was.
Yep.
And then also make sure she has her keys.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then she goes out.
Yeah. And as you go out, you realize that also the structure of the flat has kind of like changed. It used to be like three doubles next to one another, and then like the common room area was off from them. And now as you come out, you realize that this place has three rooms that are kind of like each on one side of the square, kind of like a common area, and then the fourth wall has the exit door. So the architecture here has changed significantly, but the furnishings and everything are still the same. Like there's literally still the weird blood-looking stain on the wall that you know was from a Bolognese fight. There's still like the table still has like the damaged circles where the Mocha Express pots were put while they were still fresh off the stove and like caused the wood to kind of like bubble up a little bit. Like all of these details that you very, very acutely remember from your life in the dorm are still there, but there's only like this architectural change going on as well.
Yep. Cora is there's a part of Cora as she continues towards the coffee shop that is like is going to the coffee shop the best use of our time? Should we in fact be going to student health, say, or
Fair.
I don't know, an actual hospital? But most of Cora is like one thing at a time.
Fair, absolutely fair.
This is the idea that she has right now, so this is what
Yep.
she's doing. And after this has either worked or didn't, then we will reassess.
Mhm.
But continuing on.
And you head to the coffee shop, you get there, and it's just, you know, you have like this Joe's Cups of Joe, which is just a very weird kind of like logo design where there's just like this guy holding a cup from which he himself is waving from within.
Okay, I like that. That's
and you enter and you absolutely see Maris, you know, it is Maris. It is your roommate, just not a roommate, but a barista. And she is already like exactly almost as if you'd planned it, as if she knows exactly how long it takes you to get there. Confusion or no confusion, or like
Sure.
permanent confusion. She puts out like this it's basically it's a glass, like a large glass of this kind of almost neon green liquid, and then on top of it is whipped cream that is actually green itself, and then there's just like an ungodly amount of caramel drizzle, like caramel syrup all over it, and like there's a metal straw like inserted into the whole thing.
This definitely seems like the thing that would be her favorite if she'd ever heard of it, so sure. Thank you.
Yeah, sure thing. You seem to be a bit out of sorts. Why don't you just, you know, just drink a little bit in peace, and you can tell me all about it when you're done.
Oh, okay.
When you're ready. You know?
Maybe caffeine will help. There's caffeine in this, right?
Well, she kind of like looks at you and says, When did you start drinking caffeine?
I
I mean, I can make it dirty if you want.
is it bad for me to have caffeine? Does that make me have hallucinations?
And she kind of like
She's like she's grasping at straws
yeah,
here.
and she just like looks at you and says, "Well, I just always assumed you didn't drink any caffeine because you know it would make you anxious, and you're all you. I mean, you know, you already are a little bit, you know,
It's okay, you can say it.
anxious."
No,
But
that's fair. I'll just do what I normally do.
all right, great. Then she kind of like turns around and starts wiping the counter. Like for her, this is like okay, yeah, perfect. This is excellent. Do what you always do.
Yes. Cora will sit down. Cora will drink.
Yep.
Just to check to see if this magically helps.
Yep.
Her grasp on like cause and effect
Yeah.
has become rather tenuous lately.
So this is an extremely intensely flavored matcha latte. Like this is someone who put enormous amounts of matcha powder into it. I leave it up to you whether Cora likes that or not. Definitely, whatever Cora does likes it really intense.
I feel like she would be slightly put off by the really intense matcha, but the massive amounts of sugar would balance that. So
Perfect.
it's like okay.
Yeah,
Maybe it's because it's healthy.
possibly. So yeah. And as you're kind of like sat there drinking, a couple of other students kind of like enter this place like it's the most normal thing ever, and you know these people. You may not necessarily know them on a personal level, but you've seen them around class. You've shared some classes with them. You know, it's not like you know these people, and they definitely act, behave, and look exactly like the people you know. Like nothing has changed about them as far as you know, but they seem to be perfectly accepting of the fact that the copy shop has swapped one and added another letter, and the you know they seem to be perfectly fine. Even one of them, you kind of like vaguely remember one of them was into Maris and was flirting with her, and they seem to still be like flirtatious to one another. So
Same relationship.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly, same relationship, same people, just like the place is different. And the context has slightly changed. And apparently you have a favorite drink.
Okay. Well, while I'm drinking that, I will go ahead and do what I was trying to get that other guy to do, which is to say check social media to see what the fuck's going on.
Yep. Yeah, so a point of clarification here. Does Cora deliberately not want to use her phone for that, or does she not generally participate in social media?
No, she was asking him because she did not have her phone at that moment.
Oh yeah.
Because she had lost it.
Yeah.
Now she has a phone, so she's just going to check her phone.
Oh, she
She
sorry,
doesn't-
I understood that she was asking
Yes.
one of the guys to.
No,
Yeah, gotcha,
using
gotcha,
her own
gotcha.
phone
Mhm.
now that she
Yeah.
has it. Yes.
Yeah. So I am going to give you an option here. Either you can do just a normal intellect roll, which is going to be just like for searching or like basically Google foo, or if you want,
Sure.
you can use your ability.
I mean, she really wants to know, so I'm gonna go ahead and lean into the like she doesn't have like full, volitional
Yeah,
control
yeah.
of this thing yet because she doesn't really know what's happening,
Absolutely.
right? So yes, all she knows is that she really wants to know something. So
Yeah.
off it goes.
Okay.
So I will spend 6
Yeah.
intellect points.
So you would
Yes,
spend
okay.
5 because you have an edge of 1.
Oh, okay.
And this would be just a level 5 task, so it's going to be a level 2 because of your power shift, I think.
Okay. And yes, and effort again. So spend 2 more, and then
Yes.
now we're looking for 3 or higher, right?
Yes, now we're looking for 3 or higher on the die.
What are the odds? Well, it
Don't
turns
ask
out
that before rolling. Never ask that.
10%. Oh, I know what the odds are. 12. Everything's fine.
12, easy peasy. So you kind of like look at the you can look at social media. You're kind of like, okay, what would people be writing about this? And then you kind of like remember the guy going, oh, is this confetti or whatever? And then you kind of like start looking for any sort of confetti related posts, and then just like there's this little snap in your thoughts, and it almost feels like you've grasped onto something. It's just like this suddenly there's a very brief shift between a general kind of hazy, vague understanding of the world from your own perspective that just suddenly shifts into this very focused, concrete awareness that you are now tethered to something that will get you to where you need to go. And with that moment of that feeling, you just immediately your thumbs really do the work on their own, basically, as you kind of like act on impulse almost. And you just go like, oh, I need to go to this person because this person's friends with this person, and then this person is part of this group, and this group has this guy who actually is really into like third eye awareness, esoteric stuff. So you're gonna go to his profile, get to the group that he is like the most active in, and see if that group has posted anything. And this all of this just takes a couple of seconds, where it's just like the simplest, clearest, most obvious thing in the world. Like you don't understand why you didn't just tell the other guy to just go to this group, and you kind of like go to this group and look and troll through the posts and everything, and you realize that it doesn't take you a long time to kind of like, you don't really have the exact statistic or anything, but you realize that there is a very small fraction of people who reacted, who have mentioned this. Any photos and videos that they have uploaded display just the same pure white screen, and a large majority of people are just saying like, what is this? What is this? What are you talking about? What is going on? No. And like, then you see that some people have also started kind of talking about, oh, well, there used to be a library there, but now it's a petting zoo. Like, what's going on here? And then others are like, oh, no, there was a petting zoo ever since it was been. Like, there's never been a library at that place ever. And the majority of people seem to be is in agreement on the idea that whatever has happened has not happened, and whatever has changed was always the way it was. And there's a few people who have kind of like been who have reacted to this and who have said, hey, this is weird and everything, but their voices kind of like very quickly die out in this kind of sea of negation.
Gotcha. Of the people who posted because they had said that they had seen stuff,
Mm-hmm.
do any of them have mismatched memories with each other? Which is to say, Cora is checking to see if what people perceived as changes are specific to each person, or if they're all consistent.
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah,
all
yeah,
the
I
people
gotcha,
remember
gotcha.
the same other reality,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I gotcha. That is interesting. Let's make that let's make that another intellect roll. It's gonna be difficulty 4 for this, so you need a target
Okay.
number of 12.
Well, it's a 9 this time.
It's a 9. Okay. So you kind of like look through this and troll through it and kind of like are checking to see for consistency, but unfortunately, you're not finding enough of a data set of like the same place being misremembered, so you
Right.
can't really compare.
Okay.
It seems to, however, I will give you that it seems to dominate. It's not isolated on just places. Like some people have complained about like their neighbors suddenly being entirely different people, but with the same, like having lived different lives than what they remember and stuff like that. However, no one has memories of their own life being different other than like these little idiosyncrasies like a favorite drink or something like that. And even there, it's not like others are not misremembering original memories, so to speak. Like people have very quickly gone to a point of talking about original and new. It's very quickly become established on social media, and the like nobody has an issue of everyone reacting weirdly to them like having a new memory. Like it's more of an isolated thing of when a place is a new place, there might be some small idiosyncrasies that are new idiosyncrasies for them, but they would still be remembering from like before. So kind of like with you, you don't remember loving a matcha latte, but you remember this being a coffee shop.
Sure. Okay, so Cora is slightly talking out loud to
Yeah,
herself. so probably not crazy then, because other people did see it, except I mean, unless I'm crazy, so crazy that I'm imagining other people having seen it, which can't really answer that one. Okay, that's uh super weird. Okay. Oh, were the people, was this like a local group or was it like an all over the country slash world group?
this is an all over the world thing.
Okay. It's
He
like
says as he frantically makes new world building things.
I ask the good questions.
Yeah.
Uh okay. And if can't, well, no. Okay, right. Cause like that's a good question. Are there a bunch of reports from people complaining about their phones malfunctioning? Because they just happened to be taking a picture in the direction of sky glitter and then it went white, or did it not go white for them?
Gotcha.
That's what we're digging
Very
at
good.
now.
Very good question. Very good question. No, nobody who has like phone malfunctions have exclusively been connected to sky glitter. Everyone who has had this white thing happen has had it happen um, because they were trying to.
They noticed,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So there's no point in like checking NASA and stuff because they wouldn't have reported a bunch of weirdness because they wouldn't have seen it. Unless I guess people at NASA could see it, which maybe if there were some, but they probably wouldn't post about it online because if I had a job at NASA, I would not want to get people to think that I was crazy. Okay. Nope. I don't know where to go with any of this, so I'll just sort of this is this is my life now, and I'll just cope with that.
Perfect. And that is a perfect moment for us to make a zoom out on a temporal scale and kind of like just zoom in on a couple of moments. There's this one scene where Cora once more finds herself completely lost as to where to go. And you kind of like remember there was this way you had originally had where you could just at the snap of a finger almost find something. And we see Cora trying to kind of like use it and getting to a point of doing that effectively. And at the beginning, it is a very frustrating process because nothing happens, and there's again this security, and that is probably that might be it is entirely up to you, but that might be a point that Cora ends up um, appreciating specifically about this ability is that there is this kind of sense of security of being tethered to something that leads to everything. It is an absolute dissolution of any confusion that lasts unfortunately only a couple of seconds, but it's precious, and it is
Sure.
eventually that which kind of like transfers this capability of Cora's from being a thing that is triggered at moments of utter frustration and stress into something that she can actually trigger on her own. She can now do this. And this is also kind of like, I assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I assume that at some point Cora would have tried to use this as much as possible and have realized that That's not a good idea.
Yes, it is taxing in some undefinable way.
Absolutely.
No, yeah, once she discovered she could turn it on, her like at will, then she would have just kept doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then at some point there was just like this incredible exhaustion that would have washed over her from using it, where using it became an impossibility because it was just out of reach. And not only that, but she would feel just very drained and very almost like there would be a little bit of a brain fog otherwise going on, like other things that have to do with processing ability would be significantly impaired. And so that is kind of like slowly how she found a point where the there was a limit to this ability, and so it needed to be used wisely, or at least not as recklessly as possible. And then there's another moment where this ability just like snaps perfectly into a point where Cora realizes that whenever she has any sort of container on her, whether it be a bag or a backpack or a pocket even, that thing seems to be connected to this strange holistic weave, just the same as her ability to tether herself directly to it. And when needed, she can just like reach into it and find an item that most of the time, let's be honest, is just so ridiculously out of place that it makes no sense for her to have it. Yet somehow there is always like this vague impression of, maybe she had at some point like picked it up and just put it in a bag, because it could have happened.
Uh-huh.
And it's always so
I'm
useful.
I'm gonna assume that this happened sorry, in the process of wayfinding to somewhere. Like
Absolutely.
that she got a path that she was following, and the path included, like, reach into your bag and give this person this thing.
Absolutely.
and then ask them this. And she's like, well, that's weird, and
Yeah.
yet it works, right?
Absolutely. And then we are going to, for a moment, kind of like zoom in, because all of these things have been happening. Cora has now developed this point where she can actually tell like if something's weird. Not the normal weird, but the weird. She can tell. She has a feeling
Asterisks.
for it. Yeah. It's like an asterisk just pops up and you're like, there's a footnote to be had here. This things are happening. The Mind Palace Index has become a boggling compilation of hieroglyphics, but it works. And we are going to zoom in on Cora leaving class at some point in the evening one day, sometime after this event, after getting the hang of this. And as she does, she is talking to a couple of fellow students. She has not, interestingly enough, anywhere within campus or within her normal haunts, encountered anyone who had witnessed this event. And because there were so few people who had witnessed it, for the most part, it had kind of like died down, the hype about it. And it was just kind of like written off for the better part as a flash mob. But then kind of all of these weird reports started coming in, and now all of a sudden the whole world is kind of on this very careful haze of half of the population just ignoring the whole thing and saying, this has nothing to do with me. I just want to get my degree, get my job, and do stuff. And then the other half of the population is saying, no, but like there's literally people who are flying. How is this possible? And so there's a lot of theories at this point. Some people are saying that the flash mob was a psychonautic experiment devised by the CIA to unlock the potential of the human psyche by causing a very selective, small group mass hysteria event. All sorts of like very wild out there theories. And as you're kind of like talking to a fellow student about class and not about these theories and not about the psychonautic small scale large mass hysteria thing, something just feels a little bit off, and you're not quite sure what for a moment, and then you kind of like look off to the side and you see a mane of red hair moving just like around the corner at this moment.
So the friend that Cora is talking to, Cora will say, "Oh, excuse me," and then go. Which is not super out of character.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a moment of utter confusion on his face, because there is always a moment of utter confusion accompanying these actions. But once she kind of like goes away, he's like standing, looks at her for a couple of moments, and then just shrugs and keeps on with his life. He's just like,
yeah,
it's a Cora thing.
But no, Cora is hot on that trail.
Yep.
She has been specifically keeping an eye out, in fact, for like anybody that she noticed that day who noticed weird things, but hasn't found any yet, presumably. She has also, for some reason, not aimed her nonsense at it, like not tried to find one of those people. I think because she's a little nervous about
Probably,
weirdness squaring, right? So
yeah.
But this
Absolutely.
this was before that, so
This
still
was absolutely before that, yeah.
Still an interesting coincidence, and she's going to chase it.
And you kind of like go after this woman, and you see her off in the distance, and you kind of like realize, no matter the speed at which you are going, she is matching it. So if you speed up to catch up to her, she speeds up to not be caught. And when you kind of like almost give up a little bit and slow down, she also slows down so as not for you not to lose her. And you kind of like keep doing this like very strange cat and mouse thing, and she is always perfectly visible. You also notice, as you're kind of like following her, you know, you take a left, you take a right, you take a left, you go two blocks straight, you take a left, you take a left, and then you're kind of like, as you're walking behind her, you realize that there is something has changed. This is the same person that you saw. It is definitely the same hair. It is even possibly the same clothes, or very similar clothes at least, but something has changed in that there is no longer this kind of edge of dangerous determination to her movements. Like, this is more of a meandering, not necessarily confused, but definitely not a very very target oriented kind of walk that she's doing. And you kind of like follow her, and then you take a left, take a right, take a left, go for 2 blocks straight, then take another left and take another left, and you're kind of still hot on her tracks, and you kind of like pass by a coffee shop, and you think, oh, maybe, you know, like stopping for a coffee would be nice, because you would have like something to fuel you as you're going after her. And then you're kind of like keep on going, and then you take a left, take a right, take a left, take 2 blocks straight, and then go another 2 lefts, and then at some point you realize, wait, that's the same coffee shop, and it's the same route. And you kind of does Cora have a like a step counter or anything of that kind activated on her phone?
Yeah, for sure.
And you kind of like look at your phone just on a hunch, and you realize that you've been taking the same route. Like, you've passed this route probably 5 times now.
Okay. Okay. So Cora will then stop at the coffee shop.
Yep.
And wait.
Yep. You just stop at the coffee shop and
see
yeah, absolutely.
She comes around again.
You stop at the coffee shop and you wait for a moment, and it kind of like gets a little bit awkward at some point, because you're literally standing in front of a coffee shop waiting for
I'm loitering.
No one to,
yeah,
you're loitering, essentially. You're waiting for a person to appear who doesn't know that they need to appear. And true enough, eventually you see this woman from the front, and you see her eyes, and you see that her eyes have changed. They have gotten a different color to them. It is much more of a vibrant. They were beautiful but dangerously and murderously cold eyes before, but at this point they are beautiful, but there is no murderous edge to them anymore. And she just like keeps on going, and at some point she kind of like almost slows down a little bit, and almost like listening to her own gut, just stops very close to you. And she's looking at the coffee shop, and kind of like confused.
Hi. I'm Coraline. I was just following you a bunch because it's a thing I do. But I feels like you're going in circles, or maybe you're following me while I was following you, which it just sort of further behind. If any of this sounds crazy, then I can go, but
And she kind of like looks at you and blinks a couple of times. And then there's almost like this wave of relief that washes across her as she says, in a relatively thick accent, which I cannot replicate, and she says, "Oh, do you know me?"
I mean, I've seen you once before on the, Sky Glitter Day, but before that, um, but didn't, I didn't actually meet you, like, so not in that sense. I mean, unless I did before, things are things are asterisky. Um, I don't know how to answer that question, but at the moment, no, I don't remember having known you.
And she kind of like looks at you and says, "Oh," and there's almost like this little bit of disappointment.
Oh.
And she says, "Yes, things are very asterisky." And this is going to be the point where we kind of like zoom out and finish our origin story for Coraline Templeton, who understands everything, but not at all.
Yeah. It's like one of the metaphors that she would come up with in efforts to explain how this works to people is that it's like uh, it is like she has a bunch of random pages from IKEA instructions um, for building different things
Yep.
that somehow are in an order that ends up with something that's
Yep.
useful.
And there's always that one step where you have like several squares, and then the next step is suddenly like an elephant or something.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of
Yep.
weird illustrations that you don't always get,
Yep.
but they end up with where you're supposed to be.
Yep, absolutely. Perfect. Alrighty. Well, that has been the origin story of Coraline Templeton, which you are hopefully watching at this moment.
I mean, if you're not, how does that even make sense? Like,
Exactly.
who's hearing you? Who's hearing you say that if they're not
Exactly.
watching it? Well, they could just be listening to it. A lot of people do that these days
This
now.
is true,
The young
yes.
people,
Yeah.
they just put background stuff on. I've heard about that.
Yes, the young whippersnappers with their podcasts. With their iPodcasts. Alrighty, let's. Dora, please tell us who you are and where can we find you doing stuff.
I am Pandora Beatrix, and I am in fact deeply familiar with podcasts as I am a voice actor and I am on various audio dramas. These days, mostly I can be heard on the Modus Files, a Fallout 76 podcast. I also occasionally do work with the Wasteland Theater Company, who does live performances of Shakespeare and other things in the game Fallout 76.
Wow.
I also do other acting, but there's the chances of you interacting with that are terribly small because they're local community theater. Go to my Blue Sky if you want to know more. My Blue Sky is pandorabeatrix.com. Maybe don't go to that website because it's old and stale and I still need to update it.
Fair. Alrighty. And I myself have been D or Night Wonder. That's Wonder with an O. You can catch me on Twitch streaming video games. Currently, I'm streaming Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition, Disco Elysium, and Dragon Age Inquisition. You can catch me DMing this on Would Be Heroes, which is where you're currently, hopefully, at. Or on YouTube, where we upload our VODs and flailing. You can also catch me on Ben Newbon's podcast Cybertopia, where I play Toby, who is a resilient test subject. And there's a bunch of other things that I'm at and everything. You can find me at best on my Linktree, which is Linktree/Nightwonder. That's Wonder with an O. The links have been circling around the whole time, so you can do that and find that. Keep yourselves well taken care of. And we will see you next time. Bye bye.